Video game fans have been upset for a long time at all of the adaptations that Hollywood has tried to bring us of our beloved playable games that we immerse ourselves in for hours at a time. And they have failed. They have failed us every single time. There has not been a single, to this day, video game adaptation. That was at least until Castlevania. Until Netflix said, we in there. Until Netflix said, watch out. Because Netflix has been on a tear these past few years with the content that they've been releasing. The fact that it's all been quality content, at least for the most part. I know some of the movies trip up, but when it comes to their shows, they don't really stumble. Castlevania, I reviewed the first season and I loved it. I had an issue with the fact that it was only 4 episodes, but I understand that Netflix was testing it out. They wanted to see if there was interest in this, if there was interest in an R-rated, adult-themed animated series. And Castlevania has proved with the first season that, yes, there is an audience for this. And they proved it again with the second season that, yes, there is an audience for this. And that when you do a video game adaptation right, you will get rewarded. Castlevania Season 2 is 2 things. Number one, and most importantly, it is the best, by far, video game adaptation that we have ever seen. Whether it comes to a television series, a mini series, or a movie, this is the best video game adaptation we have seen. And because it's the best video game adaptation we have seen, the bar was kind of low, but Castlevania sets it at a new high. Castlevania Season 1 and Season 2, fresh. Rotten Tomatoes, go check it out. But just watch the show for yourself. I'm just pointing out that fact because we haven't seen that before when it comes to video games being developed into anything but a video game themselves. Castlevania Season 2 is coming at you with 8 episodes, which completes the 12, which it just should have all been 12 in one place. That's what it should have been, but I understand Netflix wanted to test the waters. This was a risky move on them. Animation is not cheap, especially 2D. If it was 3D, you could save some money, but 2D animation ain't cheap. Drawing all that out ain't cheap, and especially having the quality that Castlevania does, it's not cheap, and we know it's not. But Netflix has got that bag, so they're willing to spend it. Here's how Castlevania succeeds. And I'm going to talk about it mostly as a whole, but we're going to talk a lot more of Season 2 because it is 8 episodes against the first 4. So it's double the length. So we're going to be talking about the series as a whole, but mainly Season 2. The reason why it works, and this is what all people who are working on video game adaptations need to take into consideration. I'm looking at you, Metal Gear Solid. Especially you. But here's the key. It has a solid, aggressive pace. It doesn't really take its time. Some would even say it's fast pace. But that pace works. Castlevania, as someone who hasn't played the games, I can't tell you how long they are. But I can imagine that they're longer than what this series is. 12 episodes, about, even if I was to give them the 30 minutes, they're not really 30 minutes apiece. They're roughly around 24. But if I give them the 30 minutes apiece on average, that's only 6 hours. Most video games, especially nowadays, are going to take you double that. So how do you fit that all into what people try to do, a 2-hour story? Or in this case, a 6-hour TV show. Now, a 6-hour TV show works a lot better than a 2-hour story, of course. I'm not saying that. But look at all the other video game adaptations that Japan has tried in their anime. They have failed every single time, just like us. So when we do it right, and they have shown, Netflix has shown, and Adi Shankar, props to him for producing this series, and Season 3 is apparently greenlit. He wants to do Symphony of the Night, which I know some people say is one of the greatest games of all time. I digress. I haven't played it. I'll get around to it, but those type of games, they're not for me. But I can tell you that a lot more people are interested in Castlevania now because of this series. Especially me. I love this series so much, man. I'm going to cosplay as Trevor Belmont. I'm a cosplay as Trevor Belmont. That's how much I love this series. That's what Castlevania has done for this franchise. It's put it to the point where I don't think it's going to happen because of Konami. That's a whole other discussion. I feel Konami could come back with an open world Castlevania game. Just think about it. Just think of it like a freaking vampire filled Assassin's Creed. You played Odyssey that came out recently. You know it could work. But anyway, back to the show. Now it gives you a solid aggressive pace. Fast. It doesn't waste time on stuff that we don't need to know. And it doesn't fly through the stuff that we do need to know. It tells us everything in condensed versions to where you understand, and that's it. You don't need an entire backstory. You just need to see enough. You just need to see the key moment. And that's what it did with the characters that we're following and with the characters that they're going against. The villains and the heroes. You know enough of their backstory to like them. You know enough of their backstory to understand why they're doing the things they're doing and why they are on these opposing sides. Now, of course, there are some characters that get no spotlight really, but they don't need the spotlight. That's a problem video game adaptations have done. And I want to point out Warcraft. They tried to tell too much in a small time. Castlevania is saying, here's what you need to know. Everything else, we push it to the side. You don't need to know that because we're not telling that story yet. We're not telling that story right now. Here's the story. There's a guy named Trevor Belmont. He's from the Belmont household. His family was banished. Bad guy's name's Dracula. He's out to revenge. They killed his wife. And that's it. That's all you need to know. And then the characters that we follow, the characters that come to help out Belmont, Sypha and Alucard. We understand why they're helping Trevor Belmont. And we don't need entire episodes for it to be shown to us. They take roughly 5 to 10 minutes in an episode to tell us why it's happening. Or they sparse it out through little 30-second clips in each episode to tell us why they're on this journey. And that's how it should be done. Whether it's a show or a movie. And I just want to go back to Warcraft one more time because that's a perfect example of trying to do too much. Warcraft tried to explain the Fel. It tried to set up more movies. It tried to do a whole entire war all in one film when it really should have just been the story about Duratan. We didn't need to see the other side. Tell that in another movie. Tell that somewhere else. It should have been about Duratan. It should have been about the becoming of the Horde. It should have been about Gul'dan and his nonsense. Castlevania has one story for you with characters that are in it that tells you why they're on the journey with them. That's how it should be done. On both sides. Protagonist, antagonist. Both sides. And as far as those characters go, let me tell you my top 5, and I'm going to go in order here. Of course, Trevor comes in at number 1. Trevor Belmont, the charisma was oozing off this guy, and I got to give it up to his voice actor. I believe that's Richard Armitage, if I'm not mistaken. Yeah. Got to give it up for his voice actor. I give it up to all the voice actors. They did excellent work here. Excellent work here. Netflix knew how to pick them. Adi Shankar knew how to pick them. They did great work here. And then next on my list is Alucard, coming in at number 2. There is a scene in the final ep that I'm not going to say here, of course. I'm not going to spoil it. But it ends Alucard's story, at least for now, absolutely perfectly. And you get a sense of who he really is and what he's going through. And that scene was great. I love that scene in the final episode with Alucard. Now, next is Sypha. And Sypha's quick wit and banter with Trevor, like, who can't love Sypha? Plus, she's the only, she's not the only, but she is the strongest And I don't mean as far as power level wise. I mean, she's the strongest female character in the show. She's the strongest female character in the show. So I had to put her in my top 5, all right? I loved her to death. The banter is amazing. Even her small banter that she had with Alucard every now and then was amazing. The banter between Alucard and Trevor was amazing. The banter in the show is just amazing. Freaking, what was it? The freaking, the Viking vampire. There's a Viking vampire. He has one of the funniest lines out of the whole show. You watch the show, you have to find out. It's one of the funniest lines in the whole show. But then after the 3 mains, we got Dracula. Now Dracula, to some people, he's just going to be a bad guy. But I understand where he's coming from. I understand why he wants to do the things he's done. I understand his pain. And they showcased his pain and his thoughts very well. Again, with the pacing, and they didn't focus on it too much because we're mostly following Trevor Belmont. This is his story. Dracula's the antagonist. But we understand the antagonist. Some of you may even like the antagonist and wish he was the protagonist. Y'all need some help, though. Then last, this may come as a shock to some people, but I'm going with new character for season 2, Carmilla. I feel the way they've set up Carmilla for season 3, maybe season 4, whatever. I don't know the story of the game, so I don't know where they want to go next. I know Adi Shankar mentioned he wanted to do Symphony of the Night. I'm not aware of that story. I'll have to read it. I'm not going to play the game. I don't have time. Red Dead's out. But the way they set up Carmilla for the future and what she was able to accomplish with her short time span in the show, I love her. She's going to be great next season. I can't wait to see what she does. Now, there are going to be some extra characters sliding over from this season into the next that are also going to be very good. But Carmilla, she's going to be BOSS, boss. Boss bitch, as some of you may say. Probably saying it right now. I can't wait. And the future of this show is bright. Season 3, whether they tell Symphony of the Night or if they want to just continue with Trevor Belmont's story without going through the games, I was able to look up that this basically is Trevor Belmont's story. This is it right here. But I have to imagine that instead of doing like the games, which jumps generations, I have to believe that they're going to keep on with Trevor Belmont's story. Because they set it up to where they can, and they've also set it up to where they can skip time. It's all about whatever they want to do. As long as they bring Carmilla back, which I know is a fan favorite in the video games, but she's about to be another fan favorite in the television show. Castlevania is one of the greatest, if not the greatest, R-rated animated TV show or movie just in general. I know some of you are going to throw Akira at me. I'm already sitting here. I hear you guys. You're going to throw Akira at me. You're probably going to throw some other Japanese stuff at me. But I'm talking about as far as here in America. I'm not talking about Japan. Because they fail with their video game adaptations too. They fail with some of their manga adaptations. They can fail just like we do. I know they have a lot more animated stuff. But as far as R-rated, adult animated features, television shows made here in America, or at least thought of here in America, either one. Sometimes we outsource our animation to Japan, but it still came up here in America. This is in the upper echelon. This is my number 1, actually. I can't think of anything else. Heavy Metal's fun if you've seen Heavy Metal, but it's not on Castlevania level. You know, especially that sequel. Don't even get me started on that sequel. You know, and then the rest are comedies like, you know, Family Guy, Fritz the Cat, Simpsons. Those are all comedies. They're meant to make you laugh. This is a show that, yes, it'll make you laugh, but it has a story. It has edge. It has characters that I loved and not just sat there and laughed at. We need more adult animated fare in the United States. It doesn't always have to be rated R. It just has to be for adults. It has to be adult themed. It has to be something we can sit down. It can't be on that Disney Pixar crap. I know Disney Pixar is for quote unquote families, but it can't be on that crap. I want strictly adult driven stuff like Castlevania. Parents aren't going to be telling their kids to watch Castlevania. I mean, I'll let my kid watch it if I had one. That's the type of parent I'm going to be. But if we're talking adult themed and adult oriented, this is number one. I mean, if you have something better, you put it in the comments, but don't come at me with no Heavy Metal or no Fritz the Cat or none of those comedies that are R-rated. Definitely don't hit me with Sausage Party. I will smack you through this computer. Don't do it. But Castlevania, best video game adaptation, that's not even arguable. And then best adult animated television show or movie, period. That's the crown right there. The king. It's Castlevania, and I can't wait for season 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Tell all the video games. Tell the story from all of them. However many seasons you can go. And beyond. I don't care. I want more of this. I want more of this. And I can't wait to get more. I haven't done a review in a long time. This is a long one. But I had a lot to say about the show because I love it so much and I want more people to see it. I probably will not do another review for a very long time unless I'm this excited again. I do not do YouTube anymore. But I had to get this out. So until next time, if there is one, bye-bye.